De mare.
Good morning, Grand Rising. Sabah al-Khair, Masa al-Khair, Salam alaikum. Welcome, family. Wherever you're tuning in from the world, welcome to Africa Week 2020. This is our September reunion. It is our 5th day, and we are here to ask what's right with Africa. For those of you who have been tuning in and joining us for the week, please let us know, let us know where you're tuning in from, but also tell us, what sessions have you attended? What did you think of them? What was your favorite? Is there something missing? Is there something you'd like to see more of? Let us know so we can incorporate it. If not this reunion, then next one, inshallah. If you haven't been on a panel yet, if you haven't sat in on a session yet, tell us why. Here we are, Wafa May. All right. Sabah al-Khair. I am going to be dropping a link here because, as you all know, what's right with Africa is you great people. So join us and tell the family what you think is right with Africa, what you feel the world needs to know about Africa, because they keep thinking one thing. And we can't really blame them on the media, on this, on that, but this is what we're here for. We're here to reclaim that narrative. So join us and add your voice. Here's the link. If you click on that link, you will show up here and we can have a nice discussion. I also have 2 minions who might be joining me, and I'm very, very excited. I hope they will. Let me see if I can send that to them right now. Because that's another thing that's very right with Africa. Our future is bright because these kids, they ask all the right questions, as persistent as they are. We have to appreciate that persistence. Even if they interrupt conversations, even if they hop in and out, they know what they want. And there's so much love in that. My computer won't work, which reminds me, just as we're starting the day, let's just put this out there. Not today, tech gremlins, not today. Let's see, what else do we have here? I was reading this article about how the pandemic has spared Africa, or appears to have spared Africa so far. And the funniest thing is that that's the headline, that's the title. The pandemic appears to have spared Africa so far. Full stop. Scientists are struggling to explain why. Why are they struggling to explain why? This is why we need to reclaim the narrative, but that's one thing that's absolutely great about Africa, not just right about it. Our scientists have been sleepless. Blueberry 76 says jealousy. That's one part. Jealousy is one part. Insecurity, I think, is a bigger one. Oh, thank you. You're very kind. It's insecure. They're scared. They're scared. Admitting that Africa and Africans and people of African ancestry are capable goes against everything they have been conditioned to believe, and we have been conditioned to believe. We are part of a system that has told us time and time and time again that we are not enough. But here we are staring pandemics in the face, staring natural disasters in the face, staring corrupt misleadership in the face, telling them, we're here, we've been here, we're going to come up with things you won't know how to deal with. And they'll reject it. They'll reject our medicine. They'll reject our innovation. They'll reject our discoveries. And we have Wafa here joining us. Yay! Welcome, welcome.
Hello, good morning. Sabah al khair.
Hello, hello.
I'm so glad I tuned on this early.
You're so glad you tuned in for what?
I'm so glad I tuned in.
I'm so grateful you did. I'm so grateful because, you know, this is really an open discussion, and I've tried having it because we have the family hour. Alexandra and I have the family hour in the evening. The family from the continent usually can't join because of the time difference. And while we're not calling this family hour because it's not Mama and Tata coming together, it is an opportunity for the fam on the continent to tune in and to tell us what the world isn't seeing, what the media isn't telling them, because we have a lot of great things happening on the continent. We have a lot of things happening in the diaspora that we simply have no idea about. So, as you are the global diaspora connected for our people, tell us, Wafa, what do you think is right with Africa?
I think the people are right with Africa. You cannot replicate that kind of spirit and that kind of that idea of like camaraderie exists on all corners of the continent, and I think that's one thing that stands out a lot when I think I mean, I have like an academic international studies background, so I always look at the books and research a little bit skeptical because I'm like, you're missing the people in your analysis, and that's a really big and important part.
Yeah, and yesterday we had this discussion on what the Pan-African research landscape looks like, and I had Jihad Mashamoun join. He's a Sudanese now doctor. He just defended his Viva 2 days ago. So yay, another thing that's right with Africa. We are getting whatever accreditation to be on the table that seems to be required to be on the table. But these certificates, these letters that are added behind our name aren't changing what we know, that it ultimately always goes back to the streets, goes back to the people. And, you know, we were talking, naturally, the inevitable, two Sudanese people are talking, we're going to bring up the revolution. So we're talking about the revolution. We're talking about how people are, you know, responding to what's happening now in Sudan. And we're saying, you know, we need to really look and take the lens out of Sudan and just zoom out and look at Sudan within the context of Africa, and more so within the context of the global Black Lives Movement. And then we were starting to make the comparisons to see, as far as revolutions and protests and uprisings and the certain patterns that are being repeated. And in one of the points was, you know, why aren't we realizing, or why are some countries or some states so adamant for this revolution to fail? Why are they so terrified that young people get what they actually asked for? What is so unacceptable in their minds for that? And we realized that it's because everything they study, they're not taking the human element into it. Everything they, oh, Blueberry's saying freezing, and I don't know if he's saying that we are freezing and you can't hear us, or that the world is freezing, because let me tell you, the world is burning up. Blueberry, please explain to us what you mean by freezing. Better yet, please join the conversation. If you click on this link or hop on Facebook and click on this link, you can join us and you can tell us what you mean, and you can tell us what you think is right with Africa. What about the diaspora?
I think the diaspora is, there's a lot of strengths that we see that are just like that emulate directly from the continent. And when I think more closely to the Sudanese revolution and just the Sudanese diaspora that I'm a part of, I think of this like constant longing to be somewhere that you're not, to be, I think, in the only place that you fully belong. Um, but I think with the diaspora, we've been so far disconnected from the continent and each other that now that we're tapping into really just like mobilizing some really crazy initiatives and things, it's showing us that we have a lot of years to make up for, a lot of years of missed connections, a lot of years of missed opportunities. And now that we've built off of the momentum, like in predominantly the diaspora that is creating a lot of this movement, is the younger generation, my generation, who has already known that there was going to be this really big responsibility falling on our shoulders. And it's kind of all just piecing together in its own way right now. So I think the diaspora is really slowly but surely getting to that place where we're able to like streamline our efforts and have key point people to go to for specific sectors, and just creating that. We have a lot of secondhand trauma being forced out of our country due to this regime, so it's creating a sense of trust for new institutions and seeing the same ones here. I mean, in the US, seeing a lot of the same similarities that we saw last year, in regards to attempts at peaceful protest, security forces. I mean, here in the U.S. they're called police departments. It's really just tomato tomato. So we have the same kind of extreme force we see with security and on unarmed civilians. So it's just kind of forcing us to have a lot of conversations that we force, or that we have regarding other nations and other countries, to be able to say, like, well, how does this tie into the whole entire global picture, the global lens?
Yeah.
So that's why I really do love the whole, it's a global Black Lives Movement. It's not just central to one place. It's not just um, what we see and how we're directly impacted. I tell people, I'm like, Sudan is called Sudan because that means land of the blacks. And if you can guess who gave the name, it was somebody who was not black. So we've owned it, we've owned the heck out of it. But at the same time, it's, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, but we've made so much progress that I really don't think stopping is an option.
Oh, nah, no, it's not. And I think that's another thing that I'm realizing, especially bringing in, our generation, is there is this very clear, unapologetic shift in the paradigm that no, we're not going to be working for institutions anymore. We're not going to be, and that's why you're seeing more of us, step into our consultancies or into our, and actually, that's something. Fusion, and I credit Fusion for this nugget of knowledge here. Is that he said we're talking about freelancers, and he was asking, he's like, do you know the origins of the word freelancer? And I'm trying to my internet isn't as functional, but the origins of the freelancers is, basically knights for hire, you know, uh, who would defend. I think he said historically lancers were who would defend the people or the land, but freelancers were the ones who would just be for hire, and they would defend whatever they're being paid to defend, right? And now to see how we are we are picking and choosing what to defend, we are picking and choosing what to work on, we're no longer saying that this is the only way for us to do something, and rejecting that we need to be part of a space that will tell us, no, you need to be from 9 to 5 on a desk doing this, doing that, and ultimately serving people that don't serve your people, or creating agendas or creating policies or projects or programs that don't serve your people. We're seeing a huge shift away from that. And here we are.
And I think it's a necessary shift. It's been a shift that we've been. I didn't know that the origins of the word freelance comes from that, but it makes a lot of sense because we are. I think we've talked a lot about this in the last. I mean, it's just this conversation is just going to keep coming up until we actually.
It keeps coming up.
It's going to keep coming up. I did finally start that initiative and that thing, so now it can come up in completion. But I think that, when we are, a lot of us who have this innate tendency to answer calls that our community cries, like, we don't really have that option to pick and choose of how much we can support or how much we want to support. And then we, sitting at that 9 to 5 desk job, you really are seeing the limitations on how much you can contribute when you're stretched in so many different directions. So it's nice to think that we are in a way knights fighting for some causes that are bigger than ourselves.
Warriors, my sister, warriors. And now that you have your Nubian it's just,
it's come full circle. I was talking to my mom about I guess my Nubian heritage, and she was like, yeah, we come from a pretty long line of leaders and tribal leaders, and I'm like, whoa, that makes sense because the apples don't fall far.
no. And even those who do fall far, they ultimately end up planting something else elsewhere, or growing into something, flourishing into something else close by. But again, that's also something that we're seeing more of. More people are digging into their history, into their family lineage, into wanting to connect to who they are and where they come from, in a way that I haven't seen before. I haven't seen at this rate, at this pace, at this determination, and at this intensity.
Yeah.
It's like we're racing against time. We're trying to catch up with something and be like, no, we need to know who we are. We need to know who we are right now. We need to know where we come from. We need to know where our people are so we can call on them right now. And I think that's also why we keep seeing more people join Africa Week 2020 and bring more of their people, because, and I don't mean family just as in your blood. I mean your tribe in what you do, your tribe in your hobby, your tribe in we were talking about this like-minded, like-spirited conversation, wanting to find more like-spirited people as opposed to like-minded people, and that shift again into, let's get aligned spiritually with where we're trying to be. Let's be present and centered in our roots, in where we stand, so we know, this is our trajectory. And for me, it comes a full circle that really, truly, this is a revolution of consciousness that's happening. And to be aligned with this consciousness, to be aligned with this revolution, to really pick up that torch and march, you need to be around like-spirited people. And I think in many ways it's happening, and it's happening in ways that people don't necessarily know how to make sense of. This week, I got 4 different messages from people who have been tuning in and out of Africa Week 2020, and they can't put their finger on it. They're like, we feel something here. There is something that is happening here. We don't know what it is, but there is something that is happening, that is going on here. And it's that's what's happening, is that we're coming together, is that we're aligning, is that you're connecting with the spirit of others.
And I think I felt that same exact thing during the first Africa Week that we had, where it was, I don't know if it was the timeliness of it all happening, but it was this feeling that I couldn't quite put my finger on until afterwards, where it just made sense. It seemed like a dinner conversation that was really familiar, that I hadn't had ever in my life, but was in a place where, I don't know. We'll find the word for it. We'll find the word to describe the feeling, or maybe.
We don't even need to find the word for it. As long as we have the feeling, as long as that feeling is there, we don't need the word. Because as you said, and as we always say, like the first family hour we had for Africa Week, for this reunion with Alexandra, was, how we abhor labels, that need to label something just so it's just this one thing. The truth is, our reunion is not just one thing. It's not just a reunion. It's not, some are tempted to call it a conference. We're unlearning and actively stopping ourselves from calling it an event, just so we step away from this being a work-related thing. This isn't, because it's not work. I mean, it's a lot of effort.
It's a labor of love.
But it's a labor of love. It's not work. We're doing this out of love. We're doing this out of need, for us to feel connected, for us to feel grounded, for us to feel like you're not that far away. I mean, you're all the way in God knows where in Virginia, and that's like hours away. And, and Ronell's all the way in South Africa. But somehow, just seeing you on the screen and knowing that I can do this and literally just like poke your face. It's such a blessing. And I think in that sense, it's a need for us to feel that connect as well,
And it's important to that we always create these spaces. I think, I know I've personally shied away from joining them or creating them or being a part of them for way too long. And it just always felt like I was trying to surround myself with the like-minded people. So my brain was stimulated, and I was able to really connect on different thoughts and ideologies, but my heart just wasn't connecting in the same places or in the same areas. So it's been nice to challenge those same institutions with people who are also challenging them in their own corners of the world, and at the same time, just in this effort to create this really big, unified, global connection and global network, that's been really cool too.
Yes, definitely. And also there's an affirmation in seeing that whatever it is we are doing on this side, someone else from the family around the world is doing the same, is doing really, really doing the same, whether they're facing the same struggles and still jumping up these hoops and moving forward and doing it anyway, or, you know, feeling that shift, if you will, like we say, you know, I guess the timeliness of it all, is that we are all of a sudden aware that this is our time everywhere. That we are saying, nah, this is it, this is it, this is it. And if we don't catch it now, if we don't capture this moment now, if we don't, like as Abdul Wahab, which I think was perfect, that the first workshop from Abdul Wahab for Africa, this reunion, was capturing the moment and building momentum.
Right.
Because this is really what we need to be doing right now, because God knows when it's going to come back again, right? If we don't really capture this, if we don't really join forces, hold hands, move forward, and really put our all in saying, Wafa, I know you're trying to start this thing. How can I be of help? And mean it. And don't just say, yeah, you know, once you do it, I'll check in, or let me know when it's up and I'll check in. No. Really, 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 I mean, let's do it.
Yeah, that's all we can do, is just seize the moment and just take advantage of the opportunity of having this little bit of craziness in the world, to find something more grounding, whether that be we create it, we be a part of it, or we join on to it. But yeah, just thank you for letting me hop
No,
on here for a little
I'm
bit.
seeing the rays come through and shine on you. So may you be blessed. May you be surrounded in that light as you move forward today. And I pray you find a miracle around every corner you go today, my love. Thank you so much.
Oh, right back to you infinitely more.
And we'll see you for the rest of this week.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Family, wherever you are, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying tuned in with us. I have the home projects. For those of you who missed Black Love Stories that we had, please tune into Home Film Project to see Ash's work, to support, to share it. He's doing some fantastic work to claim the narrative, to reclaim the narrative. Here's a very short film here. I'm going to share it with you. If I can figure how to do that. Here we are. Okay.
When we were younger, we never had this kind of open material that we have here. I remember when I was young, we used to have this van that used to come door to door. And at the back of the van, they would have these rolls of material. And the mothers would go out and the van door would open and there was material there and they would look at which material they wanted. Yeah, I'll have this, how much is this? And that's how material was bought in those days. We never had shops like this. When I was young, it was the first. I think in those days, I was probably the only Asian Muslim in my year group. Being a woman, and my father was from that first generation of people that came with the labourers into UK and so on. So it was more about work. And for the women of my age groups, it was like school, and then you're going to get married off, full stop. These days hold a lot of memory. Whilst I was still here, pregnant, not quite fitting in, yet not quite knowing where the future was. 32 years ago is when I walked these steps, thinking I need some kind of education. I was a book geek, I was a bookworm, I wanted to read, I wanted to become a psychiatrist. I think my dad always found it odd why I was into books. The library was the place where I could go and get lost in books and get lost in fantasy world. And I was top A-star student in school, but I never took the exams because then my dad took us abroad and I got married. I just felt lost without my books. I had Reader Digest get delivered to my door. And there was one story that got me: a successful businessman. He was happy, but there was something missing in his life. He said in his story that he had always wanted to go and help people in Africa. And he went back into education. He became a medical doctor and then went to Africa to treat people. That seed was planted. For some reason, at that point in time, that story came back into my head. And I thought, yeah, I think I'm ready for Africa. For me, it was God has given me the ability to be trained and help and heal. What am I going to give? I'm going back to people that really need it. And where did they need it? It really made me think I need to help people more than just these mobile clinics, more than just what we're doing. It needs to be more. And that's when the opportunity came along from the government to stay on board, and I accepted, moved to Africa. I had to sit the children down. The children were okay. I'm blessed with them. They were, okay, Mom, if this is what you have to do, you have to do. I lost a lot of people, but I gained a lot of people. And there was no financial benefit going to Africa. I actually became in debt going to Africa. I lost my business, but there was a life experience that no money could afford. The time that my son got stabbed, I was still in Africa. It was just 3 months before that. My youngest was complicated with cerebral malaria, complicated with meningitis. He recovered, but he was still recovering when I got the phone call and my oldest was stabbed. I came back into the country. I see him with all these machines in him, and a lot of people were blaming me for not being here. I said to him, listen, boy, you're going to be okay. God told me you're going to be okay. As soon as you're able to, I'll be back. I was needed. I had to come back. So everything I do now, I'm going to create our own bridge going back to Africa. It's creating that sustainability. From here, I can do more. You know, it's great to see the West African products, the shea butter. I'm so happy to see that here. I could never see that a few years ago.
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
We have to bring to the marketplace because, I mean, one of our specialities is dealing with dry skin, you see.
Yeah.
So shea butter in essential form.
Coming back is, I still believe that we can make a massive change to people's lives, not just in Africa, but now I realize even here, it's at home, and how you can change lives here and give them the power to help them change themselves. I'm at home in who I am. I'm more at home with myself now than I ever was.
We had Ash join us, and I'm very grateful for Fusion and the effort he's put into highlighting the creatives, highlighting the storytellers in our midst, looking for the stories the way he does. It's such a powerful thing because we keep hearing about ourselves. We keep hearing about our continent. We keep hearing about our people. We keep hearing, oh, you know, Africans this, Black people that. how much of it is told by us is something we need to visit and revisit every chance. Grateful for that, because I've had so many people tell me to do the same. Tell me to come here and speak our truth, share who we are, just say what I think, because what I think matters and what you think matters. Not for the rest of the world. It matters to us. It matters to us as a family. It matters to me personally what you think. If you are in this space, if you are watching this live, if you are coming to this reunion, if you are taking time out of your day to see what your family is up to, what your family is doing, what your people are creating, what we are putting out to the world, so that it may connect us to our family, because I think ultimately that's what we're doing. What we're putting out there somewhere in our subconscious, it is in the hope that it'll affect a part of us we don't know about, that it'll touch a part of us we're not even connected to. And that part of us we're not connected to is you. We're looking for that feeling of home that we have been robbed of in so many different ways. And so when I think what's right with Africa, it's that in the eyes, in the heart, in the soul, in the spirit of our family, we are finding home. And I don't mean just our lineage. I don't mean our blood family. I mean our greater extended family. I mean the family of African ancestry. I'm not saying it's all peaches and roses and rainbows and you know, rosy. We have our challenges. We have our disagreements. We have our pain, our conflicts, our disaccords. But I feel like we have them out of frustration more than anything else, or out of a conditioning that has somehow been eating into our core, because this conditioning has us believing that we can't or shouldn't or mustn't trust one another. But in our very soul, we know we're family. So in our very soul, it doesn't sit with us when we don't trust one another. It's not sitting right with us when I'm seeing a sister or I'm seeing a brother, and for me a question mark pops up, and it's like, why is this question mark popping up? Like, this is family. I shouldn't feel this way around family. For me, that's the question mark. And for me, I think more of us are realizing that. More of us are seeing that. And so we're actively choosing not to fight. We're just saying, no, okay, this is where you are. This is what you believe then. Okay. I'm not going to argue, because we have enough things separating us. When you're ready to come and talk about why we are disagreeing and try and find a common ground, we'll do it. And it's been very encouraging to see more and more and more and more of our people do that. And I think that's a starting point. I think that's a great starting point for us to say, okay, we can do things differently. We don't all have to think the sun is the exact same shade of yellow. We don't all have to have white roses as our favorite roses. We can shift. We can see the orange in the sun. We can see the bit of pink. We can see it only as gold. The point is, we're seeing the sun. we're looking up. And something very interesting that I found about looking up is I read it somewhere and then someone else told me about it. So I gave it a try and I found it to work. Now, it might not work with you, but just give it a try. Take a moment and look up. Just look up. Look up and try and think about anything bad. Can you think about anything bad while you're looking up? Like, don't close your eyes, just look up, look up. What I found is when you're looking up, it's very difficult to think of something bad. Unless some disaster just happened to you or for you, because, you know, nothing's really happening to us, it's happening for us, even if it's horrible. It's waking us up in one direction or another. But unless some catastrophe had just occurred, almost every single time I've looked up, I have failed to think of something bad. By the same token, if we look down, it's very difficult to think of something good. And what I'm seeing is more of us are looking up because more of us know that that's where we need to be going. We need to be elevated. We are recognizing that we are Africa rising. On that note, I will leave you with a tune, a baby, some little tunes from the continent. Start the day. I can't play it for too long because it'll ultimately stop us. But I give thanks to Henri-Pierre Kubaka for allowing us access to his playlist. If you are interested in this music, look up HP Kubaka on SoundCloud. I will write it in the chat.
Beat, music from Africa and from the African diaspora.
Henri-Pierre Kubaka.
Chuchuma kama vile unafua, kama unapika basi nije kupakua. Chuchuma kwenye choo cha mabua, ila chunga mchanga usiingie kitumbua. Chuchuma kisha ulegeze nyonga hiyo. Chuchuma unikoneshe kidonda hiyo. Chuchuma unanyoka na konda hiyo. Chuchuma kwenye mlima kidonga hiyo. Aika toto moto 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 moto. Bye koko moto moto joto joto moto moto. Kamata ukuta shuka mpaka chini teke danzungusha. Kamata nakupa nikishika nyundo nipasue kichupa. Kina dada mko wapi? Basi muingie kati. Chuchuma 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 kimbaumbau tukunyema pilaulau nipe supu tena mashaushau kana sinema yani kana kula ndizi bila kumenya basi nipe za kichina msamba fanya kama Bruce msamba viuno vya kusigina msamba fanya kama Jet Li navocheza kwenye chaki kanataka akatake na chumba ni varangati kwa ito na pembeni katikati na katachi bila wasikame data na wasafi taito. Aika toto moto 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 moto. Bye koko moto moto joto joto moto moto. Kamata ukuta shuka mpaka chini teke danzungusha. Kamata nakupa nikishika nyundo nipasue kichupa. Kina dada mko wapi? Basi muingie kati. Chuchuma chuchuma Chuchuma, 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 chuchuma,
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we have something special down here at Birdland this evening. Recording when you applause of the different passages, your hands go right on the record there. So when they play them over and over throughout the country, you may be someplace and say, well, that's my hand on the beats. I dug down at Birdland. We bring it back to the bandstand this time, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, big hand now. Thank y'all.
Let me see you switch it up and just sugar, sugar, sugar na yo. Sugar, sugar, sugar na yo, girl. Sugar, sugar, sugar na yo. Sugar na yo, girl. Roll it up, baby. Panda na yo, yeah. Panda na yo, girl. Panda, yeah. Panda, 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 yeah. Let me see you switch it up and just sugar, sugar, sugar na yo. Sugar, sugar, sugar na yo, girl. Sugar, sugar, sugar na yo. Yeah, sugar na yo, girl. Roll it up, girl. Just panda, suckers, panda, leggers, panda, chapish, panda, rudish, panda, shukish, panda, ifish, panda, malis, panda, homies, panda, 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 man fi call a shot and ball out fi Uno. Kingpin a fly the G5 just fi Uno. Man dem a dedica them wish them fi on. A bad gal inna the place, yeah. Fire. Bad gal inna the place, yeah. 001. Panda na yo, panda na yo, panda yes. Panda na yo, gal, panda yes. Panda, panda, panda yes. Let me see you switch it up and just sugar, sugar, sugar na yo, sugar, 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 sugar na yo, sugar, 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 sugar na yo, sugar, sugar na yo, gal, roll it up, baby. Panda na yo, panda yeah. Panda na yo, gal, panda yeah. Panda, panda, panda yeah. Let me see you switch it up and just sugar, sugar, sugar na yo, sugar, sugar, sugar na yo, gal, sugar, sugar, sugar na yo. Sugar na yo, gal, roll it up, baby.
Panda, fungua mkanda, taratibu nikukute kwa kitanda, shani panda, nataka nile chanda, aye, kutoka tangu kanda, shaje take banda, kaka para banda, unapika kama maji ni shatanda, nimesanda, nimeshakuwa banda, I'm ready marua, I'm ready panda, you look good every, let's take a holiday, on the jet, on the yacht, holding out a holiday, holiday. I like how you pop it in.
Panda na yo, panda yeah. Panda na yo, gal, panda yeah. Panda, panda, panda yeah. Let me see you switch it up and just sugar, sugar, sugar na yo. Sugar, sugar, sugar na yo, gal. Sugar, sugar, sugar na yo. Sugar na yo, gal, roll it up, baby. Panda na yo, panda yeah. Panda na yo, gal, panda yeah. Panda, panda, panda yeah. Let me see you switch it up and just sugar, sugar, sugar na yo. Sugar, sugar, sugar na yo, gal. Sugar, sugar, sugar na yo. Sugar na yo, gal, roll it up, the girl, them fly on it. Slide on it, them sit and a wine on it. Them fly on it, them hide and a roll on it. Stay on it, stay over your wave on it. Flakes on it, sit down. So roll on it, and make it your own, gal. Enough you hold it like a queen in this front, gal. Enough of them fit over good, but them not hard, gal. So hold it up in the place and shut it up, gal. I celebrate it like the truck in the road, gal. Me love your body, so me hold it like a phone, gal. Forward your body, gal, rewind it like remote, gal. In the carnival, she wind it like a road, gal. Panda na yo, panda yeah. Panda na yo, gal, panda yeah. Panda, panda, panda yeah. Let me see you switch it up and
Music from Africa and from the African diaspora.
I'm WeAreAfricaRising.
siku moja moja ukipata nafasi tukumbukane, nitalipa bodaboda, achana mwendo kasi, usijivane bane. Ewe binti maringo, sijui wanisikia, pendo lako nicheze bingo, wenda nikanishindia. Mwenzako bado mko singo, pendo limenichachia. Uwezuka niwe tingo, moyo iwe abiria. Nafsi unainyong'onyeza, nahisi la moyo shambulio, nifanye chipsi chombeza, japo mionje wote wazio, penzi linanilegeza. Sonona, sonona, lino tapata nafasi. Sonona, sonona, yoyo, nambie basi. Sonona, usinyonge, naishi kwa wasiwasi. Sonona, sonona, moyo mwepesi kakaratasi. Sonona, sonona. Mwaga wino wa kalamu ya penzi langu, shimo shimo unizike kabla ya siku yangu. Hakuna sejua matatizo ya moyo ukipenda, unanifanya mwana sesere kunichezesha. Nimeoga macho usoni, sijashikwa na kwepu kimasihara. Sema niandae vipopcorni, kunyonya na vipipi vya duara. Nafsi unainyong'onyeza, nahisi la moyo shambulio, nifanye chipsi chombeza, japo unionje onje mwenzio, penzi linanilegeza. Sonona, sonona, lino tapata nafasi. Sonona, sonona, yoyo, nambie basi. Sonona, usinyonge, naishi kwa wasiwasi. Sonona, sonona, mwepesi kakaratasi.
And family, just a little glimpse of, again, many, many things that are right with Africa, our music, our art, our love for life. And on that note, I will love you and leave you as I prepare for our next panel. Refresh and stick around, because we have a mother and a daughter who are both extremely talented, wielding a bobbin and a needle, and they are going to be sharing with us their love for what they do. And they will be sharing their talent with us. And Mama Carmen will be telling us a little bit about her fantastic work with the bobbin. And to that, we thank Joey Zaza, our returning Africa Week 2020 family member, who recommended this connection. Stay tuned. Have a wonderful day if you're off to your day. Have a wonderful evening if you're just coming home. With that, we love you and leave you and say have a wonderful one.